Hello, it's January 6th. Remember what that meant? Well, remember it for 2 more weeks, then it will be erased from your minds. Yes, that's right. This is the DSR Daily. I'm David Rothkopf, one of your hosts, joined by your other hosts. You know who they are, Riley Fessler. How are you on this January 6th, Riley?
Good, I guess.
Good, yeah. And Minna Stein. Minna Stein was in elementary school when the riot occurred on January 6th. How are you doing, Minna?
I'm focusing on the snow.
Yes, it is snowy here in Washington. Out here in the exurbs of Washington, we got about 8 inches of snow. Made my dog extremely happy. And we'll see whether anybody ever plows the street. But look, at least the heat's on and the power's on, and we can do this podcast, and that's a good thing. And there's plenty to talk about. So who wants to kick this off today?
I will, and I'll start with news from a place that's cold. Canadian Prime Minister.
Detroit Lions beating the Minnesota Vikings last night. No, that wasn't it?
No, my dad is probably upset about that, but it's okay.
Too bad.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is increasingly likely to step down as leader of Canada's Liberal Party after 9 years in office, although no final decision has been made, according to sources. The speculation follows growing pressure from Liberal legislators concerned about declining poll numbers and recent political controversies, including the resignation of Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland after a disagreement over spending policies. Trudeau, who led the Liberals to victory in 2015 on a progressive platform, has faced mounting criticism over pandemic-era spending, soaring prices, and immigration challenges. If he resigns, the party will be left without a permanent leader ahead of an election due by October, heightening uncertainty about the Liberals' future amid predictions of a conservative victory.
Well, look, I mean, first of all, he's had a long run. Secondly, he has become weaker as a politician. He doesn't produce the same reaction as he used to. I remember right after he became prime minister, I was out. I'm sorry, I'll admit it. I was at Davos at the World Economic Forum, and there was some little party. And I was standing there with my wife, and we were talking, and there were all these people in this room full of, sort of bankers and government people sort of talking. And then there was this hush that went over the room because every single woman in the room stopped looking at whoever they were talking to and turned their head towards Justin Trudeau as he walked into the room and sort of sighed, collective sigh. It was frankly, it was a little bit hard to take. Trudeau's had a pretty good run. He's got a far right opposition in Canada that's been gaining strength, but he also has had opposition in his own party. Chrystia Freeland was seen as his sort of main rival within the party, and I think when she sort of threw down, many people expected that this was going to come to a head and she might replace him. Chrystia Freeland, of course, once a long time ago was a journalist, worked for the FT, was a colleague of our friend Ed Luce's, and is this very intelligent, capable woman, and that party will be in good hands whichever direction it goes. What the direction it won't go, by the way, is the direction Trump has been egging them on to, in which he says that Trudeau should become the governor of the 51st state, Canada. That's not going to happen. In fact, given the way that Canada runs things like healthcare and government services and so forth, there are plenty of people in the United States that might prefer to join Canada. We'll see how that plays out. Minna, what do you have?
Speaker Mike Johnson announced plans to pass President-elect Trump's agenda through a large reconciliation package before Memorial Day. In an interview, Johnson explained that the package would include a wide range of policy items, including immigration, tax cuts, energy reforms, and border security, aiming to bypass the Senate's 60-vote threshold by using a simple majority. Johnson expressed confidence in moving the package through the House by early April, with a goal of having it on the president's desk by the end of April or at the latest Memorial Day.
Well, we know the Congress works like a well-oiled machine, and I'm sure Johnson is going to go and achieve everything that he wants here because the Republican Party is unified and disciplined, and Trump has a very clear agenda. Um, Look, they're going to push through some tax cuts. The tax cuts are going to be, uh, I don't know, mostly for the rich, probably, and probably deficit promoting. But this is the one thing they did the last time Trump was around, and they'll likely do it again. There'll probably be some agreement on immigration issues, although I do not expect the Democrats to support this omnibus reconciliation bill at all because of other elements within it, which will go too far, no doubt. And the bill will end up being a little bit less than Johnson and Trump imagine it to be right now. But I wouldn't be a bit surprised that if, by the end of 6 months, there is this one kind of achievement, because that's akin to what happened to last time. And it is the one thing that the Republicans really want. Most of the work of the first 6 months of this administration is going to be executive orders, things that the president can do with a stroke of the pen, or things he can assert he can do that then will go to the courts and will be slowed down by all of that. But we'll also have to see whether, Trump decides to heed what the courts say, or whether the Supreme Court overrules other courts. So we're in for quite an active, complicated year. Probably not as hideous as many people expect it to be. Probably with some forward progress on some kinds of issues, but one that will certainly be contentious from day one. And it's the day one executive order agenda that everybody should keep their eye on right now, because the congressional stuff is, as Mike Johnson indicates, months and months away. Riley?
Nippon Steel and U.S. Steel have filed lawsuits challenging President Biden's decision to block a proposed $15 billion acquisition of U.S. Steel by Nippon Steel, arguing the move was politically motivated and violated due process. The Biden administration justified the decision, citing national security concerns and the importance of maintaining a strong, domestically controlled steel industry. Despite Nippon's commitments to invest $2.7 billion in U.S. facilities and maintain production capacity, the administration rejected the deal after the Committee on Foreign Investment in the U.S. failed to reach a consensus.
Yeah, there were stories over the weekend that a number of people who were advisors to the president opposed the president's stance on this, thinking that it was not necessarily super productive. This mirrors the division over this in the advisory committee that was asked to evaluate whether this posed a national security threat. And as I said last week, if you were listening here, I think it was probably the wrong choice on this. Probably will not have a lot of effect. And there are a lot of things that are being done right now by this administration that may get reversed by the Trump administration pretty quickly. This isn't necessarily one of them, because Trump is a kind of economic nationalist also. But having said that, will this have the kind of positive effect on jobs in the United States that Biden thinks it will? I doubt it. There are a lot of ways for a company to shift to more efficient forms of production with fewer jobs, and seek foreign capital if that's what they need, or falter if they don't get the capital that they do need. Minna?
Democrats on Long Island criticized Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman for initially refusing to lower flags to half staff in honor of the late President Jimmy Carter, who passed away at 100. After backlash, Blakeman agreed to lower the flags for just 3 days, a much shorter period than most other regions, notably excluding Trump's inauguration day. Meanwhile, former President Trump complained online about the possibility of flags being at half-mast during his inauguration, accusing Democrats of politicizing the issue, which sparked divided reactions from his supporters and critics alike.
Yeah, there are just some issues, you just should be quiet. It's not, this isn't helping Trump and he's the one who's politicizing it. A president died. We treat presidents in certain kinds of ways. And if I were a 78-year-old president or about to be president again, entering office, I would probably be a little bit more sensitive to that kind of thing than he is being at the moment. But then sensitivity is not why the American people elected Donald Trump to a second term in office. And they are getting in this and, pretty much everything else exactly what they could have expected.
President Joe Biden has announced a sweeping ban on new offshore oil and gas drilling across more than 625 million acres of U.S. coastal waters, including the Atlantic, Pacific, Eastern Gulf of Mexico, and parts of the Bering Sea, citing environmental and community concerns. The decision, taken under the Outer Continental Shelf Lands Act, is a significant climate action ahead of Donald Trump's return to office, as it permanently protects these areas from future leasing. While environmental groups praised the move as a major win for ocean conservation, critics, including the oil industry and Trump's incoming administration, called it politically motivated and harmful to energy security. Despite Trump's plans to reverse Biden's policies, legal precedent restricts presidents from overturning existing drilling bans.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see how Trump handles all of this kind of stuff. He will reverse as much as he possibly can. There's some stories in the paper today about this as well. In the paper, by the way, I don't actually read a paper. I want to be clear about this. I have never read a paper not never, but not in like 15 years. I don't get newspapers. I read them online. And sort of the paper is just the way we olds refer to the news. But there were some stories in the news, which I probably got from Instagram Reels or something like that, that did say that Trump is going to work to dismantle a lot of the green progress that Biden made. And that's what he was elected to do. And it's not a good thing. But, among the things that worry me about what Trump may or may not do, the ones that could be reversed in 4 years or in 2 years or in 6 years worry me less than the ones that are hard to reverse. And so, when my hair gets set on fire, it's not over these things, which, are bad and the planet is certainly in peril. But I'm more concerned about institutional changes or things that take many, many years to remediate and so forth. Did you enjoy the Golden Globes last night, Minna?
Does anyone ever enjoy the Golden Globes?
Well, I don't know. People like Nikki Glaser. And,
she was great. Don't get me wrong.
And certainly the cast of Amelia Perez and The Brutalist must have enjoyed it because nobody had ever heard of their movies before the awards last night. Anybody who has any sort of sensibilities probably was delighted to see Wicked get snubbed because it was a big loser. But, I tried to watch Wicked over the weekend. I want you to know that I did. I sat down. I did my best. But it was the Marvel Comics version of High School Musical. It was like so over the top. It was literally unwatchable.
Riley, you're outnumbered.
Hey, I'm not like a big fan. I just thought it was fine.
Well, that's sweet, Riley.
A glowing review, and that's why they didn't win a Golden Globe.
I enjoyed my time watching it. I don't need to see it again.
Yeah,
that's my review of Wicked.
Did a 2-hour play need to become a 4-hour movie? I mean, come on.
6-hour movie.
6 hours, and every single thing they were trying to do in the shiz section of it was done better with Harry Potter in some other way earlier. I mean, everything.
I just couldn't get over the name Shiz University or whatever it was called.
The whole thing.
Why is it called Shiz?
Look, the whole thing is very popular with a demographic group, and may they enjoy it forever. Do sing-alongs. It's fantastic. I enjoyed watching. I don't normally would watch those award shows from beginning to end. I did last night. It was pretty enjoyable. Maybe that's because I was switching to the Detroit Lions game. during all the commercial breaks, and
For
that
a
was
palate
also good.
cleanse.
Yeah, exactly. But it was good to see Demi Moore win that award. That was a good one. And Shogun is, since The Sopranos, the best thing
So
that's been
good.
on television, and probably the best cinematic achievement of the past year. There are no movies that are as good as Shogun. Anyway, that's my movie take today, and I just wanted to give Minna, who has her own movie podcast, the chance to provide her view. Anything you want to add to that, Minna?
I thought Demi Moore's speech was really good. Made me tear up a little bit. I was happy to see that win. And I
Well, you're
think
such a Gen Xer. You probably grew up with her in the Brat Pack, and
I watched the documentary that came out this year on the Brat Pack, so
that's your shut up. Oh, I watched a documentary on what happened in the 80s to 90s. It was like so long ago. It was so
that set the
interesting.
tone for this speech. I was moved by it.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I'm feeling a little creaky here in the snow. All right, everybody. It's the beginning of the week. All of our usual podcasts are going to be back. Lots to talk about. 2 weeks to go to the new administration. We're going to focus on the policy stuff, what's really we think is important. We're going to try not to get caught up in the craziness, the kookiness of U.S. politics at the moment, but stick to policy. And that's why you're here, because we try to be serious. And stick to what's important. For now, thank you, Riley. Thank you, Minna. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Join us for everything else. We'll be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.